She made it.
She did.
Oh my gosh, she's got to be brain fried.
This shirt's so much short now.
Short when I see it.
Kevin won't know what to do with himself.
Short when you sit, 6'5" when you're out.
Yeah, long-legged.
I've already been told I talk too much, so I'm gonna.
You're going to time yourself.
Juanita,
Yes, sir.
you're looking at professional, I don't know. So,
Oh,
how's you doing?
what does that look?
All good stuff. Let's have some fun. Huh? No. I know this one. I just met Cheryl before.
I'm disgusted.
Yeah, Cheryl.
I own them 1, 2, 3. I've got my husband, my daughter, and Carol. That's it. I kissed her wife.
Raising my little
I just met her for the first time.
Uh-oh. She's got a whole big long list of questions there.
Yeah.
12.
Ooh, that's a bunch.
Don't ask me to spell my name.
12.
12. Short answers.
Yes or no questions.
That's entirely on you.
2 minutes and 1 minute.
I'm gonna tie myself.
Yes or no questions.
I'm gonna tie myself.
As long as I can make the Colts baseball game by 17.
Ah, right? So it's opening day. It's killing me.
Oh, I don't know.
Good evening.
I'll make it by 15.
Thank you so much for coming this evening. Welcome to our City of Montgomery Council Candidate Forum. My name is Shannon Reed, and I'm the Executive Director of Montgomery Area Chamber of Commerce. We've been hosting this candidate forum as well as the one we did Monday for MISD's Board of Trustees. We've been doing this about 5 years, and it has had phenomenal success to give our residents here in Montgomery great insight into our candidates. Thank you so much for taking your time to be a part of this tonight, and we're excited to learn more about you this evening. Why don't we open with up pledges and a word of prayer? So remain standing. So stand with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Please remain standing. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, I thank you for all of the candidates, all of the residents of Montgomery that are out tonight, and as we prepare for this election season to select leaders that will take Montgomery to the next place, I thank you, Lord, that we have the opportunity to live in this amazing community, that we have such blessings, and I ask for wisdom, for guidance for each of these leaders in the next phase of Montgomery's growth, and we trust that in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. So at Montgomery Area Chamber, we want to be the trusted resource for advocacy, education, and engagement. And tonight is really a great example of all three of those combined in one. We want to be sure that you have all of the tools that you need to be able to vote and make great decisions going forward. I also want to remind you that we are recording this evening using the city's YouTube page. So while you are here in the audience, some are watching live stream, and after it's over, if you would like to go back and review any of the video tonight, you can find that on Montgomery's YouTube page, the City of Montgomery, and then we have the link in Facebook that will take you right back to the city's page. So you'll be able to find it there. We also have voter registration in the lobby. So if anyone has recently moved, today is the last day to get voter registration information updated with the Secretary of State, their office, and so she can take care of you tonight. Just know that. Let's see. So before we go any further, I want to go ahead and introduce all of our candidates and the positions that they are running for. Of course, you're going to hear more about them as they give their self-introductions. Running for mayor, Byron Sanford and Julie Davis. Running for place 2, Kevin Lacy and Casey Olson. And running for place 4, Cheryl Fox and Juanita Simmons. Thank you again so much, candidates, for taking this courageous step to lead our community. We appreciate you very much. Absolutely. We have been partnering to put on this event in particular with Voter Awareness Council for the last 5 years. And tonight with us, I'd like to introduce Steve Lacy with Voter Awareness Council. He's going to give you a little bit of rundown and expectations for tonight. We're very proud of the success we've had at this event, and he is really the reason why. He's trained me well. He trained me well. So please welcome Steve Lacy.
Thank you, Shannon. That's a bit of an overstatement to say the very least. But good evening, everyone, and thank you all for coming. And again, let's give the candidates a round of applause for not only their willingness to serve, but their willingness to be candidates. That in itself is not an easy thing, and I'm sure I don't have to tell any of you that. For those of you who don't know, the Voter Awareness Council was founded in 2014 by a number of us around the county. We are nonpartisan. We're a 501c3. We're not a PAC. We work with various institutions like the Chamber. And Shannon says we've been doing this for years with you guys to, among other things, host these forums to give you an opportunity to hear firsthand from candidates about their positions and who they are and all those kinds of things. And again, we've been doing this for a number of years. A principal organization to the whole thing, or a principal foundation to the whole thing, is this Voter 101 sheet, which you'll see on tables or on chairs around the room. I would ask each of you to find one of those, to take it home with you and take a look at it. It's very simple, hence the title Voting 101, but there are a number of things that can be done that many people really aren't aware of, like printing out your own sample ballot, which Shannon did print one out here for your area. We encourage with every election every year for you to print out your own ballot, do your homework, fill it out, and take that with you into the booth. We've all been bombarded with guides and sheets and cards and stuff from everybody that it's hard to organize all that kind of stuff. So we encourage you to do it that way to get ready for when you vote. And particularly in the long national elections in November, where the ballot's about that long, it'll save a lot of time. The other thing we encourage you to do is to vote a complete ballot. Under ballots are a real issue. People who are there but aren't familiar with this race or that race and just don't vote in it, which is probably better than voting if you're just flipping a coin. But what we encourage you to do is to do your homework so that you can do a complete ballot. But enough about the Voter Awareness Council, but we've been working throughout the county on a number of issues to increase voter participation, increase voter turnout. And again, as I mentioned, these forums are a key cornerstone to what we've been doing. We've all been to these that from time to time remind us of a lynch mob. We don't want that to be the case tonight. Robert's Rules of Order, I'm sure the candidates will treat each other with respect, and we need to treat them with respect too. And I'm sure that will be the case, but we really don't particularly like that format where it's kind of a riot. You already know Shannon. I'd like to introduce Marjorie Taylor. Want to hold up her hand. Marjorie's going to be the moderator for this evening. She is a very senior person in the whole business of marketing and promotions in Montgomery County and knows the county well. And we're very grateful to her for volunteering to moderate this evening. Shannon collected a number of questions from throughout the area during the course of the last couple of weeks. We get ready for tonight, and Marjorie will be asking those. The Chamber nor I have anything to do with any of the questions. Those came from you. Anybody who wants to do a written question tonight and get it to us for consideration, there's a pad on the back if you would like to do that. Let me quickly introduce the format, and then we'll get on with it. Each candidate will have 2 minutes, starting left to right, to introduce themselves. And whatever they want to say that's up to them. We'll then begin the questions, and we'll go left to right. We'll start with Mr. Sanford with the first question. He will have 2 minutes to answer that question. Shannon will be the timekeeper, and she will hold up a little warning card when you're getting close to the end. We'll keep it as simple as we can, and nothing will end if it's 5 seconds over or something, so don't worry about that. But she'll let you know when your time is near its end. And then the remaining 5, if they would like to respond to that same question, can hold up their hand, and Marjorie will let you do that. You will have 1 minute to give whatever response you have to that same question. Then we'll go to the second candidate, who will have 2 minutes for the second question, and then the same format afterwards. The other candidates can hold up their hand and say, yes, I would like to respond as well, and you'll have a minute to do your thing, and so forth. We'll go all the way down to the end, and then we'll start at that end, and then work our way right back here. And that will be, time permitting, 12 pretty in-depth questions, and you'll get a lot of input from all 6 of our candidates, which is the idea. We'll see how the time goes, and if there's time for more, we'll maybe take a couple from the floor if that seems to make sense. And then we'll have closing. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to say whatever they wish to say when they close. 2 minutes or 1? Sorry, correction, 1 minute when it's time to close. So any questions about the format? We'll keep it as simple as we can.
Like so.
Okay. Well, without further ado, let me turn it over to Marjorie, and enjoy the evening, everyone. I hope you find this informative.
We know who you are.
Hello, everyone, and my name is Marjorie Taylor.
Hello, Marjorie Taylor. I'm Marjorie.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. All right. So, Mr. Sanford, if you would like to go ahead and start with your 2-minute opening.
Okay, my name is Byron Sanford. I currently hold down yonder that seat, position 5 on the City Council. I'm also a member of the Economic Development Corporation. I'm also a liaison for our city at one of the most wealthy gift-giving agencies in the nation. Houston Galveston Council gives out a lot of gifts, and so I'm representing the city, but I'm hoping to hand that off to paid staff soon, I hope. I'm the most blessed man in the universe, first by having a personal relationship with my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Very close to that is God has gifted me with my wife, Rhonda Sanford. 42 years this June. If I don't get 2 votes, please pray for my marriage. The Lord gifted us with 2 fine young men. Jason is 39. He teaches at Sci-Fair for several years, and the most perfect daughter-in-law ever, and 2 perfect grandchildren to go with that. We are truly blessed. My youngest son would have turned 36, but in October of 20, in a sudden illness, he passed away. And I long to see him, and yes, that hurts. The Lord has used me in education for over 30 years. I've done it all. You pretty much can't say, other than cafeteria worker, I've done it all. The Lord then called me into ministry, and I've served the Lord with gladness for 15 years. I take on the tough challenges, both in school and church. People that are fighting, people that are fussing. I guess I'm a glutton for punishment. I'm a member of AMAC, the fastest growing conservative organization. It's a counterpart to AARP. And is that my signal?
Yes, sir.
I'll wrap it up here. That gives me access to now Morgan Luttrell, Lois can't say her name, but she owns the Burger King. Yes, that lady. And she is fabulous. We have 3 out of 31 Texas senators, and I plan to use those connections to help our city. Thank you.
Ms. Davis?
I'm Julie Davis, and I am currently sitting on City Council Place 4 and have been for the last year and a half. I love this city. We moved our family here 8 years ago in May, and we have lived in Montgomery County for, I've lived here for 25 years. My husband's lived here his entire life and is a Conroe High School graduate. So I'm a 12th generation Texan, and we love it here. We are true diehard Texas people. This is home for us. We have a family, a large family that's been a little bit of a scrutiny lately to this candidacy. So I'll just put it out there. We have fostered kids for the last 13 years, and we currently have 12 children in our home. I will tell you that they are all AV students, all in public school, have amazing reputations in this community as well, and they stand on their own 2 feet as far as their reputation. So I don't feel like I need to defend them. If you know them, you know that they know that they get in more trouble at home than they do at school, so they know to behave when they're in public. With that, I'll go in and tell you that my background is 17 years of property management experience. So between managing a large family and managing property, I feel like the city is a perfect marriage of just doing that, making sure to balance the budget and that we concentrate on some key important issues that we have here in the city that we need in order for growth. So those are my focuses moving forward. But other than that, I am an executive director for a nonprofit. That's my full-time job, and so loving the Lord and loving on people are my only primary goals. I just want to serve. This isn't a paid position. It is a position of servant. So thank you for the opportunity.
Good evening, everybody. Hope you're having a wonderful night. Happy Thursday. We're almost on Friday. My name is Kevin Lacy. I'm currently on City Council in Place 2. Been here for a couple of years. I replaced Mr. John Champagne when he decided to step back for a little bit. About me, I discovered Montgomery back in 1998. I first got my motorcycle license. I started riding up from Tomball to this cool little place, Montgomery Steakhouse, to have breakfast on Saturday mornings, and just absolutely fell in love with this place. How can you not? I mean, it's cute, it's quaint, the people are nice, and there's all kinds of great things about this town. Whenever I was lucky enough to finally get married and have my little boy Colton, he's now 9, I knew that as soon as I could get here, I want to get Colton to Montgomery, Texas, because that's where I wanted my little boy to grow up. Small town just like I did. There's a little town next to Alvin, Texas called Manville, Texas, which is where I actually grew up, population 3,549. I like the small town thing. And I ran a couple of years ago, obviously, because John Champagne trusted me and knew that I was going to do the right thing. And I quite frankly saw an opportunity. I've long heard about Montgomery and Montgomery politics as a whole. I've heard about the good old boys club, the good old girls club, this person, that person. And you know what? There's a lot of that here. There's a lot of people doing favors for other people. There's a lot of people that are helping people out with grants from the MEDC that other people don't get. I think it's my job to make sure that all voters in this town are represented. I'm not always the popular guy up here. If you ever watch the meetings, it is what it is. Everyone deserves to have the voice in this town. We are here to do what the voters want us to do. We need to be family friendly. We need to have parks that don't have broken equipment. We need to have things for people to do. So that's why I'm running again. We're in the middle of getting that started, and I think we should continue with the people that already know the playbook.
Mr. Olson?
My name's Casey Olson. I've lived in Montgomery area for the last 16 years. I moved here from Montana. Grew up chasing cows. My parents are retired ranchers. They still live up by my brother now in North Dakota. My wife joined us tonight for support. Appreciate that. She's a nurse in the Woodlands. We have twin girls that are one's headed to A&M this fall, and the other one's in the Army. So we're very proud of them. We also have a son who's at MHS. He's a golfing fiend. He lives and dies to golf. So I'm thankful because it keeps his grades up. My background is construction. I started as an independent contractor. I did work for the Army Corps of Engineers, building housing projects and commercial projects for almost a decade, 8-9 years. Then I got a job on with Anadarko as a change manager in the Deepwater Gulf of Mexico. I manage multi-million-dollar projects. That's what I do for a living. If it happens in the Deepwater Gulf of Mexico on a floating platform, I've signed on it. So my credentials are good. I love this little town. When I moved here 15 years ago. I moved out by Dobbin, and I just fell in love with it. I had opportunities to leave, and I just didn't want to. My wife and I had bought a house here in Buffalo Springs, and I can't say enough about how great of a community this is. It's just wonderful. I got friends, I mean, I work with people from all over the country. They fly in, and they spend 14 days with us, 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. And I hear about their, the problems they have with their neighborhoods or their whatever, in their little towns or their big towns. And Montgomery is just a great place. So that's why I'm running. I'd like to be part of it and try to guide its future. So thank you.
Good evening. My name is Cheryl Fox, and I live at 821 Stewart Street. I want to thank everyone for taking time to come tonight because it shows an interest in our town, and I appreciate that very much. We first moved here, we bought property in 1974 over on Stewart Street, but of course it was called Houston then, so we've had several name changes, but the house has always stayed the same. And we bought property here with my husband and 3 young daughters so that we would have a safe, happy place, and that we actually moved here in 75. So when I moved here, there was less than 200 people here. But I see 3 people in this room that were already here, so that was always a nice thing. And that would be the Duncans and Carol, so they were already here. I've been involved in several activities in Montgomery since I've lived here. I was also a private business owner for over 35 years. And in 1998, former Mayor Donald Duncan and I farmed Light Up Montgomery in Cedar Break Park. And that started out with about 10 people attending, and the last time I seen it, it was crowded enough I couldn't even get in. So it turned into a really wonderful thing about 23 years ago. I've also been on the MEDC, which is the Montgomery Economic Development Board. And for 25 years, I've been a very active member in my church at St. James Episcopal, where I've been altar guild and also on the Finance Committee. I'm currently a member of the City of Montgomery Park Board. Also, I am a member of the Police Academy that they just recently started, but there's a new class that is going to be starting. I'm a member of the Montgomery Chamber and also of the Historic Society and a 20-plus member of the Bluebell Garden Club, which was started here in Montgomery in 1952. So I'm really into the plants, so I like that. So if I'm elected, I'd kind of like to have the vision of Montgomery to be all the good things that all the growth has brought, but also all the good things that a small town brings to us, because I love the small town feeling. And of course, my children said that as soon as they were able, they would move, but I have 2 of them here tonight. Thank you so much, and again, I appreciate it.
Hello, my name is Juanita Simmons, and I'd like to thank the Chamber for putting on this event. It gives us an opportunity to know more about the candidates. It's the first time for me to meet Cheryl here, a local legend. So anyway, I'd like to thank all of y'all for coming out. First off, I guess I'm kind of new compared to everybody else. I've only been living in the city now for about 5 years and a resident of Montgomery County for about 11. I am a Texan by birth. My mother drove herself while in labor from Louisiana to make sure that I was a Texan. So, I've been married 42 years to the same man. His name is Harvey, like the hurricane. Our relationship has not been anything like the hurricane. We have 2 daughters and 4 grandchildren, and 1 more that's on the way. I have 2 Bachelor of Science degrees, one in geology, so I can identify rocks, and the other one is in energy resource management. I've got 40 years of experience in the oil and gas industry, which feeds this city and this state. The first 20 of those was with Bud Adams, the most hated man in Houston. He had just fired Bum Phillips when I went to work for him. And that was a lot to overcome. I started out in the accounting department and worked my way up to president of the company and eventually executive vice president of one of his other larger subsidiaries. And believe me, I had to work hard to get the trust of my customers because no one liked Bud, but I had to make them like me. I have worked hard for him, and then after 20 years, I started my own oil and gas company, which is officed in Conroe. We grew that company from ground zero, nothing, up to about $200 million in annual sales. And again, that took trust of the companies that followed me when I left Adams. So I'm looking forward to working here for the city. Hopefully, if I do get elected, I will continue to use that experience to help this city reach the goals that we need to. Thank you.
Okay, we're ready to start the questions.
Sure.
now. And we're going to start with you, Mr. Sanford.
Okay.
What particular skills do you bring to the role of city council?
Management skills. I have a mid-management degree with a specificity in instructional leadership. I finished that in the mid-90s. 2019, I finished my seminary degree in Christian studies. It's about leadership and people. The answers that we're looking for is about people. We can have all the knowledge in the world about water and infrastructure, but if we can't properly motivate people, you're done. You're absolutely done. You have to build trust. When I was seeking this position, I asked legal counsel. Section 22.042 says the powers and duties of the mayor is CEO. That's the explicit power. That's a big deal. No, you don't get a vote, but you're supposed to be the CEO. That means get out in front and lead. And that's what I do. God gave me that gift to the point that I've been on 2 juries, and they elect me jury foreman for some reason. And there's many other affirmations that I have leadership skills, particularly in dealing with people. So I don't lord power over people. You can't do that. You got to rebuke behind closed doors, and you got to praise in the open. And when there's misunderstandings, you got to do it with respect and dignity. And that's me. I'm a data-driven decision maker. Nobody has to like me. I don't have to have lunch with anybody. But if you're doing business with the city, I'm going to treat you right, and we're going to deal fair and equitable fashion with each other. And it starts at the top. So I'm willing to give up my vote to get out in front and lead. Because my goodness me, everywhere I go, somebody asks me to lead. I was in Sour Lake for 22 years, and they kept asking me to run for mayor. And I went back and visited about 5 weeks ago, I guess, and I see why they asked me to run for mayor. Thank you.
Anyone else have a comment that you would like to share about your skills or your role of city council? If
I would
so-
just like to reiterate real quick, sorry, Byron's absolutely right on the CEO spot, but I would add to that for my own personal experiences that, seriously, for the city, I'm a CEO for a nonprofit. I've done it for 4 years across 2 counties that serve 18 counties in Southeast Texas. So if anyone is doubting the ability of a mom that is already doing this, then please know that my attendance record shows for itself that I show up, I do my homework, I'm prepared ahead of time, and I'm here. So the servant heart and the people go hand in hand.
Yeah, just raise your hand if you
Raise
want
your
to
hand
answer
if
the
you
same
have,
question.
if you want to say the same, of what your role is, how you would bring your particular skills to the role of city council. If not, we'll move on to the next question. Okay, Ms. Davis. Do you believe it's important to have unity on city council? And there's more to this question. If there are divided decisions among city council members, what is the expectation for communicating with the residents and businesses? How would you support the views of all the citizens, even those who don't elect you?
This is a hard one, Margie. I'm like, it's a lot of question there, but
It's about unity
Right.
and what is the expectation for communicating with the residents and
Right.
businesses, even people who don't agree with you or have voted for you?
I feel like as a city that what's been lacking for a while is unity. So, but unity is a loaded word. You know, does it mean that we all agree all the time? No. Does it mean that we can all get the ball down the court in the right direction to a common goal? It should mean that. So really and truly, my hope is that that's the direction that we're heading, is down forward tracked for a better Montgomery. Maybe it's not bigger. Maybe it is just more well established and better. as far as communicating with the tax-paying citizens and the non-tax-paying citizens, I've regularly stood behind the fact that even in open council, that every person adds value to us. So whether it is citizens' comment or whether it is executive session, we all have value to add. As residents, we are all residents inside the city limits, but maybe every citizen that speaks from the podium isn't. It's a respect issue. I think that we could do a better job of having more work groups where we invite the public in to sit down and have a discussion on a round table with city council, and it not just be these people up here and those people out there, that it more unites us all on the same team. And what that looks like, that would have to be teased out, because open meetings and good old Robert's Rules of Orders would always apply when you have a walking quorum like we do now. So I look forward to the opportunity to marry the two together better. There are a lot of business owners here that don't live inside the city limits, so the general rule of taxation without representation overflows onto them regularly. They are paying taxes into the city, but they have no voice as far as communicating that they don't pay residential housing taxes, which is what our budget is based on. Recently, we passed a homestead exemption, and the biggest push for it was that our sales tax revenue is relatively equal to our homestead, our property tax revenue, and the sales tax revenue is unbudgeted and unallocated. So finding the voice for those people would be very, very key and important.
Ms. Simmons?
I have attended quite a few of the last city council meetings and had encouraged trying to get people to attend those to see what was happening. And I was very disappointed in the number of people that actually showed up. And so when I went out as I'm starting to do my block walking to get out to meet people, I've met a lot of these business owners in the city and asking them, what are your issues? What has been going on for you with the city? And a lot of them stated that no one had ever come in and asked them those questions before. So what I would like to see is more involvement of the citizens. Come back in and tell us what's going on. In the corporate world that I come from, the citizens were our customers, or our customers were our bosses, and they dictated what our company did, and they had to trust you. And I think part of the unity of that is that a lot of the citizens have not been heard. You can come in and give an example during the meetings and no one responds to their comments. And so I think it's very important that the citizens know how to reach out to the city mayor and the council, and that they do get responded to.
Yes, sir, Mr. Lacy.
First of all, I'd like to ask everyone here, if you get the chance to go back and watch the July 13th city council meeting from last year, you're going to see exactly what this question is all about. This council is not, people sitting in these desks are no different from anyone that's in this room. And unfortunately, there's been times when it's been treated that way. That's one of the reasons why I ran in the beginning. And if you go back and look at that council meeting, you'll see that there were attempts made to silence the citizens. We wouldn't let everyone speak in the citizens forum. I said, no, this is their council. We're all citizens here. Everyone has a right to be heard. And I think that if we can continue to make sure that the citizens of this town are heard and acted upon what they're looking for action from us, then we're going to be great. I think that's why we have been a little divided in the past couple of years, because there have been several agendas laid out that just weren't conducive to being fair to everybody. So,
Okay.
So put that there.
All right, so we'll proceed with the next question, and Mr. Lacy, you're up. Across the world and in Montgomery, people have a love-hate relationship with social media. While it does provide access to a larger group of people to send positive messages, it can also be very cruel and unforgiving. Do you believe personal social media profiles are an acceptable venue to vent or share views as an elected official for the city of Montgomery?
Clarify, on behalf of the city of Montgomery or about the city of Montgomery?
Do you believe your personal social media page would be a good place to vent or share views on your position as a city of Montgomery? elected official?
I think my personal page is. I think it absolutely is. I don't think it's my spot, my place to go onto the city website, for example, and oppose or really take issue with things the cities are doing. That's something that should be discussed in city council meetings, so everyone has a chance to speak. Social media is very powerful. It can be very, very helpful and also very damaging. Personally, I've experienced lots of personal damage through social media myself. As a result of running for city council. There's folks in this town that have never met me, but my gosh, I've done all kinds of horrible things. And, the reason for my divorce is this and that and this and that. It's a pretty nasty place to be in politics. But you know what? You do this because you want to help more than just yourself. You do this because it's about everyone in this room and about Colton, my 9-year-old, your twin daughters. It's about our kids. Social media is what it is. It's unfortunately not going to change. But I do not, to answer the question specifically, I do not think elected officials should vent on city-sponsored pages. But if they have their own personal page, it's their right to say what they want. That's all I got.
Mr. Olson?
Personal experience, work for corporations, Anadarko Occidental. They monitor our personal pages. What we say on our personal pages can reflect on us at work. To me, the city needs to be run like a business. We need to be very professional and be respectful. So that means we need to reflect that on our personal pages. So, yes, we have the right to speak, but we've also have the responsibility to be professional.
Mr. Sanford?
Social media is horrific, but it's like any other tool. It's not the media itself, it's how you're using it and what you're doing. With that said, we have a rare opportunity with 3 sitting council members. You send politicians here and there, you don't know what's going to happen to them. We don't need to watch just July 13th. Do what I've been telling everybody. There's no mystery. Go do your homework. This is rare. Visit all of those and see a lack of decorum. And we, the council, selected to act in decorum, which means we don't personally attack people. That's my issue. I tried to do what was right, and even my opponent said what was right for a while. But just do your homework, please. Thank you.
Okay, next question. Mr. Olson, is it? Wait, no? Yes, Mr. Olson, okay. What about city social media? How should that be run, and who should be responsible for the content on the page?
City social media. It needs to be very open and very transparent. So people that live in the city have an easy way to access what's going on, the actual current issues, and it needs to be very factual. So whoever runs the social page, they need to have a vetted interest in what's going on in the council meetings and the day-to-day operations of the city. At that point, I think it'd be up to the council to either pick a person off the council to run it or appoint someone with the city that has experience running social media. I'm not a fan of social media, but I know it is a very powerful tool, and it's very nice. You can go on Mudbug Festival. We wanted to see what was going on. All those things are very easy to access, and it's very important that people can do that without having to know somebody to call on the phone or find some website. It's just easy. Go to the Facebook page and look it up. So I think it's important that it's very, very transparent and factual.
Yes, sir.
I'm kind of passionate on that one. I do believe it should be a city employee that does it, that manages the social media, not just the Facebook page, but everything. One person can manage that. I mean, one thing I discovered recently, and I made a big stink in the council meeting about, is that we've been paying, an MEDC member $1,500 a month for the last couple of years to post on the city Facebook page. $18,000 a year for the president of the MEDC to post on Facebook. What can we do with that $18,000? Much more than just have someone posting on Facebook, okay? So definitely, I totally agree. It needs to be someone in the city, an employee of the city that can be held accountable and to managed and making sure that everything's being done appropriately. So.
All right, Ms. Fox,
Fire ahead.
do you support, I'm sorry, did you have a question, sir?
Yeah, I just wanted to
Yes, sir.
comment that I'm a data-driven decision maker, and I agreed with Kevin on, we were going to have a position for EDC. The job performance thing didn't match the salary. I agree with Kevin, we need to go back and see if we can, find somebody who can do social media and both.
Yeah.
The social media is an important marketing. I had a lady in Chambers say, please increase the tourism. Well, that's what gets them, and it's the likes and the shares. And we have a lady doing it for $18,000, and it's much more than just posting, folks. She does history, she checks on the history, she posts, she does answer questions the best she can. And again, we don't need to be personality driven, politically driven, but we need data. And I ask her for the data to justify that. And I'm telling you, its likes and the shares are through the roof. And we could argue whether that's for a specific reason or not, but we are getting exposure to the tune of 2,000 people in our Christmas parade. And I got people fussing because the popo wouldn't let them come downtown. It's because there wasn't no more room. So something's got to be working.
Okay. Ms. Fox, do you support Montgomery ISD's bond election?
Yes, ma'am, I do. Absolutely.
Okay. Anybody?
Don't even need to, first of all, if you do go to the polls to vote, stop and look about the fact that you can also have, I had a poster on that you can get your homestead exemption from $25,000 to $40,000. That's a huge increase for people on Social Security. But there's other things here too. We need to support our schools because if we have better schools, we have better property values.
Mr. Sanford?
I got out front, I'm biased, I'm an educator, but I've always felt like vocational trades is huge. So I went out in front of that way before I knew anything about the school bond. And Cheryl's right, with the amount of exemption, nobody's gonna vote no for Proposition 2, you gotta be crazy. So it's like $22 a year,
For me, it's nothing.
with that, all that aside, it's costing us actually less overall money to do more for the school. And I've been out in front with that vocational trades. I've been saying, listen, let's train our own workforce. We've got soup kitchens ready. We got culinary arts ready to train. We need what they call beauticians, not for me, but cosmetology, is that what it's called? Anyway, welders, everything down the line, folks, because 36% of our population, they're not going to a 4-year school and coming out like I did with thousands of dollars of debt. Put them to work, let them pay taxes, and let them have some affordable housing, which is a problem because nothing's affordable right now. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Simmons, beyond the immediate school district bond, how should City Council partner with MISD in city campuses?
I did some research in regard to grants, looking to see what grants were available that possibly the city could look at in order to increase our infrastructure. I noticed that there were about 3 of the federal grants that were out there were all geared towards schools, school buses, sidewalks to get to the schools, better streets for the schools. So there are some things the city will be able to do which will help our school and our children as well for their safety. I think safety is one of the biggest issues that we are going to be facing as our city grows for our children and for all of us. And so I would like to see that the city can pursue some infrastructure which would assist the growth of the schools. As our cities grow, as we, I think we have like 1,000 new houses scheduled that could be coming in here in the next couple of years. And those houses are going to have kids that are going to be needing these schools. So by us being able to provide the infrastructure for the cities, for these new houses, that will bring in additional tax dollars. I know I'm kind of rambling here, but I think the main thing is being able to find the infrastructure money that we need in order to be able to support the school children.
Okay. Ms. Davis.
All right, so I'm passionate about this one because this one's home for me. My kids are all in MISD and they're watching me run and be on city council, and there's a very big disconnect that's pretty polarizing. And so I have worked actively for the last 3 months at looking into our city starting a youth advisory committee. And so we're very much so on the cusp of that. We're working on an application to start rolling that out hopefully this summer so that kids in the MISD can fill out an application and then create a group or a club at the school that our city council and our mayor would then go there and help run the club so that these kids get an inside look at what government looks like. But twofold, that our government gets an opportunity to then pour back into these young people. Well, even if it's just one group, that group rolls out like a ripple effect on a lake that those kids see and want to do something better or different in their community. You don't have to wait till you're 43 or 60 or 50, whatever, to run for city council. What if we had, an 18-year-old in here running for council that wanted to truly bring change to our city and had big dreams? We need to be able to teach them how to do that earlier.
Are you late?
No, I'm good.
You're good? Okay, Mr. Sanford.
You were working your way to my age, but you stopped. Thank you. Anyway, my wife and I love the theater. We went to Crichton a few months ago. Come out of the bathroom, and there's this four young people playing what do you call it, quartet, stringed instrument, and it clicked. Bring the youth down there is what we want. I was at MLK and listened to this young man play that Kenny G horn, and oh man, I listened to the school choirs, and I'm like, we got to get them down to sipping straw. Give them a Diet Coke to sip. That's fine. But bring the youth down there and let them perform. Did y'all hear the guy, or I don't even know if it's a guy or gal at Kroger? I thought they were piping it in over that. I'm at every Saturday marketplace, and they've got a musician there. So to our events in downtown, let's reach out to the kids. Let them know this historic downtown is for them as well. And I'm still working with people to say, listen, we've been crying out for something for kids to do. I got some solutions for that as well. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Simmons, we're back with you again. So we're going to talk a little bit.
As it goes this way now.
We're going back this way.
Okay.
This is your second
Make it
time
easy.
to be a star. So now we're going to talk about growth. Montgomery continues to grow. What plans do you see important to get ahead of the growth with infrastructure?
Well, it goes back to those grants. We have to be able to meet the needs of our citizens through the infrastructure without raising taxes. You go in and you offer bonds, that ends up raising some taxes, as we know for the education bonds. But we need to be able to find grants again. I know that the city has applied for one grant in the last 2 years and we were declined. And I understand that it's a matter of reapplying over and over again for those. But there's about 4 or 5 new grants that are just coming up here in the next May that we need. Included in those is groundwater and water storage, which is a big issue that we have when we're looking at having to build water towers. So we need to do more to research how we can get free money without it having to cost the tax dollars. The other idea is that as these developers want to move into the area, they are looking to have their area annexed in. And of course, that would increase our tax dollars returns, not the tax rate, but more money in to build the infrastructure that we need. So we're gonna have to be faced with that. I am not a politician and I am not an engineer, but I would like to see that we really study what we can do to get ahead of the game, because I understand that right now we have the infrastructure in place that can meet some of these, but as we continue to grow, it will not. And so we have to be ahead of it, not behind it.
Mr. Olson?
I agree 100% with the infrastructure. The one thing I do want to bring up is we need to remember that infrastructure is not just under the ground. It's the cars, right? We're going to have a lot of traffic. We got 1,000 homes. Those cars got to be somewhere. A lot of our roads in our town are small. They're carriage roads from way back when, and they need to be expanded and taken care of before we have traffic issues, because it's much easier to do it ahead of time than it is to try to come back and tear up water and all this, the utilities after the fact. The other thing we need to remember is, as developers, they're coming, right? They're coming. We're not going to be able to hold them back. They're coming. So before we grant permits, we need to take very good looks at the planning and make sure that we are getting them to put a little skin in the game. Some sidewalks, things like that, light poles, all that stuff can be put in when they build that neighborhood, and it's at very little cost if they do it when they build the neighborhood, instead of they get their money and leave, and then everybody that comes to the city, where's our sidewalks, where's our streetlights? So we need to hold those builders a little bit more responsible.
So I will tell you that we are easily, in my opinion, 10 years behind on capital improvement and infrastructure. Our city engineer just laid out 2 weeks ago a 15-year plan with a $58 million price tag. And in the next 2.5 years, 23 million of that will come due, needing to do a gravity-fed water tower, and then also either increase the capacity in our sewer plant or create a second sewer plant or bring an old one back online. So that $23 million, we don't have it sitting in a savings account because we haven't planned and saved. We've been spending quite a bit. And so that will be a huge focus that is going to have to be addressed with whoever is elected next, whether it is Byron or myself or any of us. That budget shortfall, we can't recapture it with sales tax. We're not going to recapture it in property tax. And our engineer told me, oh, Julie, we'll just recapture it with impact fees. Well, when I had him drill down on impact fees, and those are fees they pass on to the developers as they're building, the total number he came back on 15 years was $9 million. We're still 49 million off from the goal in 15 years. So just know that we are not ahead of anything. We are significantly behind on money, and we will have to figure out how to make it up and where we can cut budgets, and we're all going to have to work cohesively as a team to do that.
In that same meeting, we were told when we're reading these numbers that there was a green bar and there was a blue bar. And the green bar was, what if every single household was flushing their toilets and running sinks full of water? That is a predictor of what actually will probably happen. And so the sky's not falling on the budget. The sky's not falling on the infrastructure. We know what we're doing. And here's the biggest part. I'm a big fan of a tax increment reinvestment zone. Our city has 2 state highways that unfortunately tie our hands in a lot of ways. But this is a way without bonds to use current tax levels to live a frugal budget over, let's say, 10 years, and use the upfront money to go to the developer to go ahead and do that with the promise of a certain percentage to be returned. That gets these developers going, and it speeds up the wealth. Everybody up here believes, keep your taxes low, add wealth. And I've got several plans to add wealth, and the tourist zone makes sense for our particular situation.
I think we've been dancing around this next question, Ms. Fox. What are your priorities for the city concerning safety, whether on the roadways or in our homes and businesses, as the community continues to push for more visitors?
Good question. Well, for me, since I've lived here for so long, I do have a feeling of safety in this town, and that's the reason we, I think, originally came. But I think that a lot of the safety is that promoting more programs that would lend itself to safety in the way of like neighborhood watches and stuff. What are you exactly deciding about safety? Because I think a lot of the safety will be like the speed through 105 that goes through town, because that is a big safety issue to me, because I have to go onto 105 to get out of my house, but there's a lot of people going up and down 105, so I think that safety is one of the things that we'd have to kind of relegate to professional law enforcement to become more active. But I don't know. I think we have a great police department, though, and I think it's probably the best one I know that we've had in years. So, but then, of course, when I first moved here, we had one officer, so that's kind of a. But I think that a lot of the safety should be a community effort, also.
Question, or a
Ma'am,
comment
yes,
with that.
Simmons?
At my very first city council meeting that I attended, the reason that I got interested was because of a safety issue. And it had to do with golf carts. I came to the city here, talked to the police chief, talked to other policemen, attempted to talk to the mayor to find out how you could safely get across 105 in from one side of it, on the north side, to Brooks Brother. And I was told that you couldn't go safely except by Uncle Bob's or Your Mama's Barbecue across there, across a hill and a curve. And I could not find anybody that could tell me what we could do to stop that, because that is not safe. There has to be another area where we could cross with a golf cart where you don't have to worry about getting killed in the process. So again, nobody could give me an answer, and no one had an answer that was safe. So again, the safety issues that we have here on the roads need to be addressed, and we need to have somebody that can actually give a solution to it.
Just a second.
Yes,
May I
ma'am.
speak a second? But I thought, my understanding of golf carts is that it's not allowed anywhere that is over 30 miles an hour. So by crossing 105, if it's not at a cross line, it's illegal to do that. That's my understanding.
Yeah,
So
that's not what the police told me.
I'm
You
not
can't
sure.
cross at an intersection is the problem.
Yeah, I always thought that you had to cross at a line. So maybe I need to
It
research
has to do
that a
with
little
Tech
more.
Stop though, Cheryl. That's the Tech Stop designated crossing spot for 105 is Yo Mama's.
Barbecue.
Yeah, it's not at the light, it's Yo Mama's.
Oh, I was thinking about Houston Street and 105.
No, I
Yeah,
played-
no, Houston you can cross there,
Oh,
but
yes,
in
I
order to
do.
cross back across to Brookshire Brothers, the crossing is Yo Mama's right
At
there.
your mama's?
Okay, moving on. Mr. Sanders, did you
played
have
frog
something to say?
Yes, unfortunately, I found this out the hard way as far as my administrative duties. A lot of times I felt like a law officer. It is what it is, but that experience helps me understand law enforcement. And a case in point is, the deal about 10 cameras. You can't make a population analogy. That's the wrong way to look at the number of cameras and everything else. Our activity is high, folks. We are adjacent to a county that has human trafficking and horrific, as I evidenced when Echo Hudson put this on in the Republican luncheon, ladies' luncheon the other day. Horrific abuse, and and she knows about kidnappings and whatnot. And then we've got burglaries out of control. How many officers have we lost in the Montgomery County in the last 8 weeks or so? Another one died. And so activity, and we looked at that map, and everything's got to be covered, because the people who have bad intentions, when you grow wealth, they know you have wealth, and they're coming. And I thank God for this police force. And I have many letters of accommodation, and I have people out there who say they used to work for them, and they run through a brick wall for them. Our police are doing a fantastic job.
Ms. Davis?
Sorry, I know I got the Margie look. I would just want to push one more point here. I feel like as a city, we could do a much better job as communicators with TxDOT. A lot of our issues and concerns are based upon the fact that we've got a pretty rough established relationship with them as far as the city of Montgomery, and our two major arterial roads are TxDOT roads. And then our additional major arterial road would be our Lone Star Parkway, and it's the county road. And so making sure that we have very, very clear established relationships, communication grounds with those people at the county and with the state are going to be key to improving any kind of safety as far as those roads go. Otherwise, I feel like I agree with everybody here. Our police chief is doing a phenomenal job. He is very well stocked on equipment and gear, and everything he's asked for he's gotten, even if I opposed it because I'm a financially frugal person. So he has gotten it anyway.
Okay, so, Mr. Olson, how should the city maintain the small town feel we love? What steps should we take?
I know that there's plans in the works for downtown Montgomery. I think that we really need to focus on downtown Montgomery and the fact that there's a lot of improvements that can be made. I know there's a lot of discourse and a lot of miscommunications and a lot of arguing going on, but at some point we all have the same thought, is that we love it here and we want downtown to be a place where everybody wants to come. We need to come to some kind of a consensus. There's middle ground. I know there's middle ground. We just have to find it. As far as why it's important, I come from a town in Montana. It was not a big town. It's Miles City, Montana. Had a beautiful old downtown. Big, the brick buildings and all the facades. And city council, whatever, they fought growth. Well, growth came. Growth came and went around. And we have these loops, and they're commercial property. And if we want to keep downtown as the center, the heart of Montgomery, we have to get it improved. So that's where people want to come, or it's going to go around us. And we need to get on it.
Mr. Lacy?
Sure, I agree with Casey on that. Might throw everyone for a loop here. I don't think that we should spend as much money that is what the city's planning on to revitalize the downtown and make it different and try to create parking where there really isn't any. Part of the plans for downtown include using Jim's hardware parking lot for overflow. Well, Jim doesn't want people parking in his parking lot for overflow. He started his own people. Okay, all these different businesses are just being assumed that we're going to be able to have their parking. I think that Montgomery downtown needs to stay the way it is. They need to maintain it, but I think we need to start thinking towards the future. We've got all that property going towards Ransom's. Why can't we have like a marketplace downtown, east and west Montgomery, kind of like what you have in the Woodlands? A nice place with a splash pad for kids, new businesses, but still look historic, that kind of thing. There's no reason why we can't have modern facilities around here in conjunction with what we have downtown. So, just want to put that out there.
Yeah, so I was going to go on, Casey nailed it on the head because, the 88th legislature just outlawed annexation. Our city is what it is. It's not going to change unless you as a ETJ or an extraterritorial jurisdiction ask to be annexed in. So our 4.7 miles isn't going to change anytime soon without big negotiations between city council and you. So with that in mind, this growth, if we don't figure out how to communicate with TxDOT and the city and the school and the county, if we can't figure out how to make this a big team playing field, then the growth is going to go around our city. It's already happening with the Aggieland Expressway coming in. Everything between 290 and here, or 249 and here, is literally going, it's already populating. You go down 1486 and go south, and you can see that there's 3,000 homes coming in, and a lot of that is in the MISD feeder zone. And then we have Redbird Meadow coming in with 552 homes, which is literally down the street here.
600.
And they're asking for annexation into the city. So those are going to be key ones to watch, and we've got to make sure that we have a cohesive team to do it.
Thank you. I'm told that Redbird is even over 600, valued at $500,000 apiece. Once we get to that, that's where some of the optimism comes, because I know some of these things are about to happen, and praise the Lord, Discount Tires is on the way. With that said, I am a huge fan of the revitalization plan, and can't find very many folks that don't think it looks beautiful. As a matter of fact, the solution to the Caroline property, it's in there. I walk around it all the time, drive around it. The solution for the business owner to have exactly what he wants is there. It is there. And I'll be happy to show it to you. Anybody wants to stay with me? I've got the pictures, I brought it, and it's fascinating. And that model, though, doesn't fit or don't fit because of anybody's likes or dislikes. It fits the revitalization plan. I've got the pictures for you. There was a path there. I didn't get the votes.
Ms. Simmons? At the chamber meeting yesterday, I got a little history lesson. And Sam Houston was telling us that the city of Montgomery, which was the capital of the county at one time, was growing and prosperous until the railroad built 16 miles west of here through Conroe. And that's what we're going to be faced with if we don't take steps now. Everything will build around us and we will be landlocked here. And so let's not let history repeat itself. And again, everybody grow around us and we don't take the steps to grow our city the way we want it to grow now.
All right, Mr. Lacy.
Yes, ma'am.
Should City Council grant variance requests for developers or business owners from the current code of ordinances? Why or why not?
Well, first of all, we haven't enforced an ordinance in about 15 years, so, why not? City Council committed to, and we still haven't gotten to this as much as we should have, we committed to a year ago taking each ordinance one by one and updating them. The ordinances have not been updated in forever. And because of that, it caused a huge commotion almost all of last year with Bill's Ice Cream, in downtown. It caused all kinds of unnecessary headaches. Until we get ordinances that are in tune with what the business is that's happening around here, then variances should be granted when they make sense. When they're variances that would obviously do harm to our culture as a community, then no, obviously. But for now, until we get the ordinances corrected and caught up to today's times, that's definitely a tool that we can use to attract more business.
Davis?
Currently, we have a zoning ordinance for a lot that has to be 50 by 70 for the city limits. And that is counterintuitive to developers coming to our town to make money. So you're not going to come in and buy a expensive piece of property and then develop it and not turn out and make money. Your time is valuable to you. You want to be able to make money on it. So the issue is that developers want a 20 by 40 or even a 30 by 50 lot with variance. And all I would even gander to say, probably 75 to 90% of our variances coming through City Council are lot width variances. The developers want to build on smaller lots because they want to build affordable housing that is affordable for every buyer. Affordable being $250,000 is a starter home now, but affordable. And so I would say that we've got some serious lead time to make up on that one too. If we want people to build here, if we want developers to be here, if we want businesses to be here, we do need to look at all of our planning and zoning and our ordinances. There just are some big issues there.
Mr. Sanford?
I'm optimistic. We've made some incredibly good hires, a new secretary and a code enforcement officer that is a huge blessing. We don't want Gestapo. We don't want to walk around and just write tickets. We want to communicate. And I think in my discussion this morning, she's a keeper. She's going to help us get updated. And that's part of the internal frustration and management's frustration is we certainly thought we directed that to happen. It didn't. Who wants a tire and lube shop downtown? Well, if we don't get busy, who's going to keep them out? Yeah. Just that simple thing. That's a place to start. Who wants an Arby's? Arby's would be great, but I don't want it sitting on the corner downtown, do y'all? So we haven't even been able, it's political paralysis in my view. But I'm optimistic that's going to change. Thank you.
I just have a quick comment about ordinances. We can call them ordinances, you can call them operating procedures, you can call them, there's many things that you can call them. In offshore production oil, we are required to update our operating procedures or the way that we do business every 3 years, minimum. Now, they get updated constantly as we make changes and things like that. The Federal Code of Regulations is a nightmare to navigate, but we do it. And our ordinances have to follow along. So having someone, like you said, the great hire, the code enforcement agent, what do you call them? Officer, thank you. Code enforcement officer. That's fantastic, somebody that can focus on it. We have an engineer that's all this poor young lady does is update our operating procedures continually. Now, it's a very daunting job, but it has to be done. So we do need to update our ordinances, and the fact that they have taken steps to do that is fantastic.
Okay. Ms. Davis, what should the role of MEDC be for the city? Along those lines, do you support tax incentives or any other incentives for developers? Should the developers have a role in giving back to the community of Montgomery?
Yes, yes, and yes. MEDC's role is economic development. I mean, it's in the title. So with that, I believe that it would be great to do a fair and balanced tax incentive. And with that, we need to standardize an application for the tax incentive so that people know what the maximum is and the regulations. And right now we are arbitrary out there, and it's just vague and ambiguity in it. And so you don't know what you're asking for, or what you're allowed to get, when you're allowed to ask again. And quite a few of our larger local businesses have been denied, where quite a few of our smaller ones have been granted. And so there's a little bit of confusion amongst our economic people, and there's some diversity there going on. I feel like it would be great and beneficial as long as we standardized a process and clearly communicated our resources and opportunities to everyone.
Serving on the MEDC, my wife and I took a 2-week vacay, and I'm information driven, and when I see the inconsistencies, it struck me. And so I communicated with Chair of MEDC, Mr. Tram. I don't think it's personality driven, but the nature of the fact that you have 7 or 8 individuals in 2019 that said okay to this thing, as far as gifting businesses and getting them up running, and then you get another group that interprets it different. So my message is simply this, and you touched on it: objectivity over subjectivity. Because our 2 goals is tourism and quality of way of life. And I'm sitting there looking and I'm thinking, is it really the city's deal to buy somebody's advertising sign? We talked about making it a better sign, and then somebody says, well, I want to pay for a business owner's landscape, and I'm thinking, well, doesn't landscape make your way of life better? So it's clear as mud. And we need to objectify those standards so that whoever plugs in there doesn't have this wide range here. So we're already working on that, and I hope it gets better.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, MEDC's a subject that I've been very passionate about in the last year. If I do get reelected, one of my number 1 goals is to probably replace half the MEDC as they sit today. You know, we've got our priorities messed up. We've got small business owners out there that are opening new locations, like kind of reference to Troy's Donuts is opening up another location. He asked for money to help with his sign. We told him, no, that's part of your normal business operating procedure, no way. Meanwhile, we give the Pizza Shack money for their sign. Meanwhile, we're paying $7,500 for a goat suit. I think our priorities are a little messed up right now in MEDC, and I think that if you don't see that that's an issue, then you're not paying attention. So.
Maybe my mic's not on. Kevin didn't quite hear. The people who are sitting there now, especially me, we didn't make that decision before regarding Pizza Shack, okay? So maybe you didn't hear that. I just addressed that. The nature of the setup is going to give you these problems. Didn't have anything to do with who liked who or nothing like that. I'm telling you, it's gray area. The first time that particular owner, he didn't have his paperwork in. The second time, again, there's ambiguity. And then, you know, But I hear where you're coming from, because we all recognize it's that partiality type of thing that comes across and gets people feuding, and we don't want that, and we are working on it.
All right. Last question.
Yes.
Mr. Sanford.
Oh.
How would you assist the city of Montgomery to continue to be a tourism destination?
Well, I am, like I say, I'm out there in the community sharing my social media on the positive side constantly. Every Saturday, I'm out meeting and greeting people who do business in our city. Wherever they're from, I shake their hands. I tell them, you're welcome here. Is there anything I can do? I slip them a card. I say, come to Montgomery. We are a especially blessed, unique place. There's a lot going on here, but I'm active in the chamber as well. And you hear the hearts of people with issues with, I can't afford it. So I have some incentive ideas, probably don't have time to go over them right now. Incentivize some businesses to come there. That increases tourism. But again, we've got a movie that I was strongly behind, Breaking Strongholds. We have a massive event here the 16th. It's not a good thing for us to lead the way in teen suicide. It's just unacceptable, isn't it? And this movie addresses that. Let there be healing because of that. And 14 million people are expected to see Montgomery. It's hard to measure what that might bring, but 14 million is a heck of a lot better than what we were doing. And that was a decision that was made early on the EDC that I got strongly behind. A little bit of criticism here and there, but I think it's going to pay off. But I told the MEDC, I said, listen, these are intangibles. Give me something tangible. So we put $200,000, the maximum, into the Klepper sidewalk project. Now we're triggering. You know, and that's the way of life. That's getting the connectivity to the downtown. That's good stuff that we're trying to do. And please don't take two of my boys away, because they actually saw the tourist zone work in Spring Branch. And so I'm like, wow, thank you, Lord. We got two businessmen with tangible experience in what a tourist zone can do to a city or for a city. And so leave them alone. Let them set. I'll get off. Thanks.
Anyone? Okay. Do we want to take any questions? We're good? Okay. All right. So we're going to then do our closing 1 minute. Mr. Sanford, I guess that's you again.
Could I ask something, please? Why did you not ask questions, Ms. Shannon? Dan, why did you not want us to ask any questions?
We took those in advance so that we could cover all of the topics, and that's the forum.
And when the meeting started, someone said, back there will be paper if you want to ask something later. And this is later.
Or is it back here that we haven't seen?
I gave mine to
There is one there that.
somebody.
Yes, so we covered growth, and this is the only other one.
Well, if we raise our hands respectably, maybe we could ask a couple if they don't mind answering.
Okay. So the question is, financially, are we solvent? How does the financial future look?
Okay, you answered that one. I'm good with that.
Okay.
That was my question.
That was your question.
All right. I think we're good. Are we missing anything else?
No, we're good.
All right. Continue.
I used to get on a bus route, 6 a.m., teach all day, coach into the night, turn around, do it again, support my family. My work ethic, you're not going to be able to outwork what I do. What I've done for this city is be an ambassador. Whichever seat I sit in, I'll continue to be an ambassador for this city. I work hard. Peers see that they'll nominate me not only for EDC, but also to be a Houston, Galveston liaison. I report back to the city what monies are available. But like I say, I'd like to turn that over to somebody more full-time. We do need some financial gifts, no doubt. I'd rather have financial gifts than grants, because grants have strings attached. I'm a mid-manager. My goodness me, with all the stuff going on, we need somebody who can identify with mid-management. That's what our staff represents. They're upset, we're upset, and things aren't going. We're 6 months behind. on a lot of things, and it's political paralysis, it's this, it's that. We need somebody who can identify specifically with the fact that there's political bells and whistles going on, but I can identify with their issues and will be able to relate with them specifically as a mid-manager. Thank you.
Yeah, in closing, I just want to make sure you know that, I've got a family here, so this is personal to me. If we don't get the numbers right in the next 15 years, my kids are the ones repaying it. And they're not repaying it to the tune of one kid, they're repaying it to the tune of 12 children. So I want to make sure that we not only get it right for today, for our taxpayers right now, you guys in these seats, but that we get it right for the next 30 years, 2 generations of kids that are going to be paying it back. So please know that you may say that I've got a lot on my plate, but I've got a lot of skin in this game too. I've got to make sure that my kids aren't bearing the burden of us having a happy, wonderful property today, 30 years from now. I do want to make sure that Montgomery is extremely solvent, but I also want to make sure that we're financially sound in our decision making going forward with capital improvement.
Real quick, I just want to say that I'm very thankful for the time that I have had so far on City Council, and I do hope that it continues, regardless, whoever wins this thing. I mean, I think that everyone up here has the right mindset for taking care of the city and for doing what's right for everyone here. If I am reelected, I'm still going to continue to be the voice that everyone wants to hear or doesn't want to hear. I think what people are thinking needs to be said. I do hope that whoever the next council is able to make decisions and get things rolling. Byron mentioned the sidewalk on Klepper. Well, I spent an hour with Kirk Jones yesterday. He had this sidewalk on Klepper ready to go several years ago. It's never been done. We've got to start making our decisions and sticking by them and taking action. So that's what I plan to continue to do. And thank you guys so much for coming. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Olson?
The one thing I really want to be understood is that I've listened very carefully to all of the questions and all the answers that the candidates tonight have given, and there's not one answer that I couldn't agree with something. There was not one answer that anybody gave that I could not agree with something that they said. So that tells me that we're very close, right? And we have to be able to work together to get to tie on to what he said, what Mr. excuse me.
Kevin,
Yes, I'm sorry. Mr. Lacy said about getting things done. We have to be able to agree and take action, and that's finding middle ground and respecting each other and understanding that yes, I may not agree with everything you say, but there are good, very factual, very good answers from every single person sitting here. So I'd be honored to serve with any of them.
I have a long-standing history of volunteering and public service to the city of Montgomery, along with my whole family has done it also. And I have a love for the city, and one of my favorite things about the city is where Texas hospitality meets Texas history. One of my favorite things that I've told Shannon many times. So I think along with those things, with the history that I have from way back with Montgomery and the love of all the new things that are coming, I would hope that I would be a good city council person, and I would appreciate your vote. And I really appreciate that everybody did show up tonight, because it does show a good interest in our city and a love for our city. Thank you.
Ms. Simmons?
Well, as I said earlier, I'm not a politician. I'm a businesswoman. And I love this city, and I've met a lot of people that have moved here because of their love of this city and what it brings and what it means to them. And hopefully we can meet the challenges that we're going to be facing in the near future and still keep it the same city that we all love right now. I think that, again, I'm looking at the citizens and the needs that we have here as if everybody is my customer or my boss. And that's how we have to address it. We have to face the citizens' needs above our own. And hopefully all of you out there will vote for me instead of her. She's not going going to vote for me.
We appreciate all the candidates coming here today and all of the community coming to listen, and thank you very much.
Way to go.
Be safe.
Everyone, it's been very pleasant meeting you, and you're a good business person. Casey,
Like I said in our text, I appreciate that. You know,
Casey, see the daughter there with the head? With the hat? She used to work for Ann Arthur. She retired. Oh, really?
It's hard to get up and do something like this when everything's just, I don't know what business
Hi, daughter. You know Casey? Do you know Casey?
What group are you in?
I was in revenue. Yeah, also, it's very nice to meet you.
Okay, good. Right now, Olson. Hi, Cheryl.